again, and welcome to another edition of the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Ifia Fusua. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes, where homes are not built but crafted. This is an episode that I have been looking forward to for such a long time. Today we discuss what to consider when it comes to real estate acquisition. We all know that the decision to either buy or build your house can be a very tricky one. We've had instances where people have lost a lot of money in trying to put up their own project. And for my friends in the diaspora, I'm sure most of you can relate to such very sad stories where you're trying to put up your house, but then you lose a lot of money trying to do that because you're not around to supervise and ensure that everything is done to suit your taste. There's also another side of the coin where people have tried to buy, but then because they didn't buy from the right developer, they end up losing money. So both sides of the coin can be very tricky. So today we get to break it down for you. We get to delve into what to take into consideration when it comes to real estate acquisition. This is a Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Ifia Fusua. We are back shortly.
A real home is one carefully crafted by the master craftsman. And when it comes to it, Buena Vista Homes are the finest and the very best. Buena Vista Homes are not built, they are crafted. Embrace your dream environment where greens are lush, serenity is unmatched, and privacy is a sure guarantee. Exceed the limit of your imagination with Buena Vista Home. Go for everything worth the price. Your home is your pride, and a Buena Vista Home must undoubtedly be your signature home choice. Visit www.mabuenahomes.com or call 0303 401 401 or 050 304 728. Buena Vista Homes are not built, they are crafted.
Welcome back. This is a Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Ifia Fusua. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes, where homes are not built but crafted. Today we discuss factors to take into consideration when it comes to real estate acquisition. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so if you're stepping out of the house, you can definitely watch us on your phone as well. Gentlemen, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our viewers, you know, they can't hold their joy when they see you. myself included. So today we are discussing real estate acquisition. So Kwabena, I would like to start with you. What should influence my decision? What are some of the main things I should take into consideration when it comes to real estate acquisition?
In terms of choosing a developer?
Yes.
I think you need to talk to people.
Right.
Talk to industry players, other developers. It's not a very big industry, so we know ourselves, so people will be able to give you references. You should also, if you have the opportunity, speak to people who've purchased homes from them. It will give you an idea of, you know, the kind of developer and their experience. They'll probably share their experience with you as well. You should visit their site to take a look at what they've done, their track record, and also probably go along with another professional or with a professional who will understand and be able to appreciate, you know, you can have a discussion with the developer, go along with your professional who will ask the right questions, right, you know, if you think you need some help in that area. So those will be my initial recommendations, right, you know, for anybody who's deciding on which developer to go along with.
Okay, Sammy, I would like to pick your initial thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, you know, real estate, as we earlier discussed, comes in different forms. So actually depends on which real estate you may be talking about. If, for instance, you're interested in an apartment, there are developers who specialize there or have apartments. If you are interested in bungalow type homes, there are developers who specialize there. So you must first of all have an idea of what you're looking for. If you're seeking a commercial real estate, of course, that becomes a different ball game. If you are looking for a recreational real estate, it's another thing altogether. But zeroing down, if you're looking residential, then you would definitely want to check. These days, social media is there. You can do a background check of what developments they've done before. Go to their website, even before you set out, from home. Go to their website, see what they have on the website. One of the things that you may want to check is whether you're being presented with real built images, or these are architect's impressions. And sometimes these days it's even more difficult to tell because of artificial intelligence.
Right.
But you want to do all of that. It may be curious for you to find out who are the brains behind it, what are their backgrounds. There are some who are into the space, not necessarily because they have a pure professional background, but they have a solid business background. But to have both is an advantage. So you want to be sure that, the people who put it together, what backgrounds do they have, what experiences and track records do they have. Sometimes you can just be nosy, and if you have their names, go on their LinkedIn pages. Right. Go and find out what the stuff they are made of. So there are lots of work you can do prior to setting out, and going even out there to go and check what is really on the ground. And so I would say these are my initial thoughts. Do any and everything possible. If the person has a rich website, it will give you enough information, some of which will then become a basis for the questions when you pay a physical visit, to be able to ask the relevant questions when you go, out there. So those would be my initial thoughts.
Now, when you mentioned, doing research to check on the names behind the brands, my mind immediately settled on you two. Kwabena, an architect, and you, a quantity surveyor, and then a chartered accountant as well. That put together, perfectly explains, the magic we see with the Buena Vista Homes brand.
It does, but again, let me also say that it's, the owners may not necessarily have professional backgrounds, but could have a very solid professional team that they work with. And that is equally important. I just need to clarify that. And that is equally important. But what is relevant is that the ones who think and drive the agenda must necessarily have a certain background. And that is very critical.
Right, that's very critical. I agree. Kwabena, I'll come to you. There's a very tricky question on whether people, my viewers, should buy or to build. What are your thoughts on that? Your initial thoughts? I'll come to you, Sammy, as well.
That's always a difficult one.
Yes.
For depending on what stage in life you are, I think. But having said that, I think that there are a lot of risk that you avoid if you decide to buy. Obviously, if you buy from a developer, they've thought through everything. Their community has been planned. Your house is well designed. Your infrastructure has been put in place. So it makes it easier and a seamless process, once you decide to buy. So I'd say, yes, go ahead and buy. It saves you a lot of headache, if you ask me.
A lot of headache, I agree. Uncle Sammy, when it comes to, when I decide to buy, what should I be on the lookout for?
All right, so let's say you have gone on a house hunt, and you have visited a developer's site. One of the things you want to look out for is the general layout of the place. How interesting is it? how unpredictable is it?
When you say how unpredictable?
Well, I mean, there's a traditional way of housing layouts where things are in rows.
Okay.
Row. Everything is bum, bum, bum. There's no surprise as you enter the enclave and things like that. I mean, that should interest you.
Okay.
It should also interest you whether the infrastructure of the place has been laid out.
Right.
It's very important. That we've seen developments where the units go way ahead of infrastructure, and sometimes you're not too sure whether eventually the infrastructure will come out or will be done. But it's good if you went into an enclave where the roads look to be coming up very well, the drains are there, what kind of drains are there, have the drainage systems been carefully thought through and planned out, is there going to be a potential for flooding when it rains, where does the groundwater lead to, and things like that, because it gives you an idea of all of that. You want to be very interested in that. Even before you get to go and ask the other relevant questions. If I walked into an estate, I would want to look at the greenery, for instance, of the place. Are they thinking through that, or everything is just brick and mortar, hard surfaces and things like that? So a few things that just by cursory glance, you don't need to be a professional to even find out on those things, but just cursory glancing through it should give you an indication, surfaces and things like that. So a few things that just by cursory glance, you don't need to be a professional to even find out on those things, but just cursory glancing through it should give you an indication.
Now, when you spoke about the greenery, the first place that came to mind is the Marine Drive residences. And we'll have that on your screen just so you can have a better appreciation what we are talking about. The greenery in the estate is worth dying for. And then I come to Vista Valley, and then I'm even more blown away. So greenery is your hallmark, I believe.
I think living within nature in itself is a great thing.
Right.
You wake up in the morning and you find all kinds of birds, flying all over the place, because there are flowers all over the place,
Yes.
and they are trying to pitch in there, and they are chipping all over the place. And there's some tranquility, some peace.
Peace.
And it works out beautiful.
It works out beautifully,
Plus,
right?
when you reduce the hard surfaces within a development, it reduces the potential for flooding in the area, because you do not create the opportunity to trap too much rainwater. You allow it to percolate very easily into the ground. So most of our yards have grassing and soft spaces, just so that the water doesn't all collect and begin to now want to find their way about, and then it creates potential flooding. But you allow only the ones that are falling on the road to want to find their spaces into underground drains, and then everything is so beautifully laid out, and everything just flows very nicely.
See how Uncle Sam is describing everything. You see what goes into crafting the homes you're seeing on your screen. A lot of thinking goes into it. Please, if you're looking for a developer, Buena Vista Homes is your one-stop shop. Everything is here. This is a Buena Vista Homes real estate show with me, Efia Fusua. We are back shortly to stay. Welcome back. You're watching the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Efia Fosua. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes, where homes are not built but crafted. And we have been explaining and proving to you that indeed homes at Buena Vista Homes are not built. No, they're carefully crafted. I still have my special guest here with me, Kwabena and Sami. They've been helping us have a better understanding what to look out for when it comes to real estate acquisition, particularly when you're selecting a developer. Kwabena, Sami, welcome back. Kwabena, I'll come to you now. What other checks should I take into consideration when it comes to selecting a developer?
Well, I think one of the very, very important things you need to look at from the outset is whether the developer has title to the land on which they are building. It's important because being in this industry for this long, I know of various cases in which the developer doesn't have title. He's now trying to perfect his title and has gone ahead to start developing, only for some issues to come up, later on down the line. So that kind of due diligence is very, very extremely important. You don't want to part with money until you're sure that the developer has title, to the land on which they are building. So that's one of the critical things I'll say you should look out for from day one.
Right. How about leases?
Yes, once you are certain that they have title and they can pass on the title, then the next thing you need to look at is what are they offering? What lease are they offering? How long is the lease? Is it a 50-year or much longer? Is it renewable? Under what conditions will they renew the lease, and so on? So those are the next stage of questions that you should be asking.
So what makes an ideal lease then?
Ideally, I think we're used to tenures of 99 years, but I'm aware that depending on where you acquire the lands from or where the developer acquired the lands from, it may or may not be 99 years. In some cases, 70 years, 75 years, and so on. So, yeah, anything within that range, I think, will seem pretty reasonable. Obviously, by that time, you may not be there, but your kids obviously will have the opportunity to renew the lease and extend it.
Okay. So, Sami, how are I know the lands at Buena Vista Homes are titled, so you have no issues with that. How about leases? Talk to us about that as well.
Yeah, so, the value of your properties would be informed by the unexpired term of your lease as well. So even though you would want to look at the unexpired term, conditions like Kwabena spoke about of the renewal terms, the renewal conditions, the option to have a renewal, and when you are going to have that option for how long will also equally feed into your decision. And it's important because most lands these days in Ghana have moved away from the freeholds. You would hardly find any freehold lands. A few still exist, but most lands are leasehold, and most developers acquire them as such. And when they acquire it, they can only pass on what they have. They can't pass on more than has been given to them, and of course there would always be renewal clauses that are in there. It's important to find out whether at all there are new renewal clauses. If you have terminal clauses that at the end of this period, the entire thing reverts, you should be informed by that, and it's a very important, very, very important point.
Right. So I visit a real estate office. What should my expectations be?
Just basically, you should see their master plan. For instance, if it's a more virgin project that started, all right, you should be able to ask to see the master layout of the place. You should be able to ask questions of what has informed that kind of layout, what different kinds of units they are going to build, how the mix has been shaped on that master layout is important. One other thing I will normally recommend is that if you happen to go to a new site, it would be great if you can find out from the developers whether they have other sites they've already developed, and pay a visit to a completed site to see how it looks and then compare it with what is up and coming. You'll be lucky to go to a site and find that lots of the things have been done already, but hardly will you go and find a fully completed, estate before they start selling. Most of the time, you sell off plan, we call it, where designs are made, master plans are made, and then people come to make choices of the house types they want, and then you go ahead to develop for them.
So the developer's track record is very important. You made a point about off-plan properties. I would like you to shed more light on that.
Well, off-plan, I'll leave it with Kwabena.
Okay, Kwabena, I'll have you take that.
Well, as the name suggests, you're selling off the plan. So
Right.
the house hasn't been built yet. All you have is a plan. And the prospective buyer then will select any of the plans and then have a relationship with the developer where he builds for you. Usually the construction will take a while, so the house is really not ready as you walked in on the first day to have your keys, even if you had all the money to pay for it. And there are also arrangements. Either you pay in stages as the house is being built, or you can take a mortgage from one of the mortgage companies to pay for the house. So buying off plan essentially means the house is not built.
Okay.
But at least you may have some similar types of houses that have been built by the developer, which you can visit and just familiarize yourself with it. It could give you ideas on how you'd like to finish the interior of your home, for example. As you walk through the space, is the kitchen the right size for me? Is the dining room okay? Do I want it bigger? Then you can start to think through those and have those kinds of discussions with the developer if you want to make some changes.
All right. So what's the practice at Buena Vista Homes like?
At Buena Vista Homes, we build off plan.
Okay.
So it also gives us the opportunity to work with you throughout the process.
Okay.
So then we get to discuss your own ideas about what you want to do, what color scheme, for example, you're thinking about, what size of rooms, like I just spoke about. If there are any interior decor ideas that you want to introduce, we can walk you through it, look at different options as well. So essentially it gives us the opportunity to also work with you and walk you through the journey, till we hand over your keys to you.
All right. So you craft something to suit the lifestyle of the person who would be living in the house at the
because
end
we
of the
have
day.
those discussions with you just to understand what your lifestyle is. If we think what you're choosing doesn't quite suit you, you may not have realized it, but we can then make recommendations based on our years of experience to say, well, we think this kitchen, you may want an outdoor kitchen, or you may want to have a pantry, so we work with you throughout the process.
Buena Vista Homes works with you throughout the process. Let's go for a break again. We'll be back shortly. I know you're enjoying the conversation, but don't worry. We are back shortly after this break. This is the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes. Visit our website, www.mybuenahomes.com. Follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter as Buena Vista Homes. We are back shortly. Do stay.
A real home is one carefully crafted by the master craftsman. And when it comes to it, Buena Vista Homes are the finest and the very best. Buena Vista Homes are not built, they are crafted. Embrace your dream environment where greens are lush, serenity is unmatched, and privacy is a sure guarantee. Exceed the limit of your imagination with Buena Vista Home. Go for everything worth the price. Your home is your pride, and a Buena Vista Home must undoubtedly be your signature home choice. Visit www.mybuenahomes.com or call 0303 401 401 or 050 304 728. Buena Vista homes are not built, they are crafted.
Welcome back. This is a Buena Vista Homes real estate show with me, Ifia Fusua. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes, where homes are not built but crafted. But then in wrapping up, gentlemen, your final words.
I think every client comes with their own peculiarity. I mean, just as we're all different, you know. So one of the things we do is just to have a chat with you. Some will say an interview, but I like to call it a chat because we're basically trying to understand who you are, what kind of family setup you have, what's your background. So just to be able to appreciate, you know, who the client is. And I'll just give you one example for lack of time. I remember there was a client who we engaged who we started to talk about the design and what they wanted. And the house type they selected had a typical L-shaped design for the kitchen. So from a design point, we call it the kitchen triangle, where you have the fridge, the cooker, and then the sink, which are the three key pillars of, you know, your kitchen. But as we engaged and as we spoke and I got a better understanding of his family setup, I threw in the idea that I thought for the age at which his kids were and just the family setup, it would be a great idea to have a kitchen island, you know, an island in the kitchen, because then that is additional workspace where the kids can do their homework. You can also have the cooking, but it offers you more social interaction in the kitchen space. And initially, he didn't quite like the idea because he thought it would make the space a bit, you know, crowded. But we made some adjustments, and he's absolutely thrilled that he made that choice. You know, so those are kinds of things that we engage our clients on.
Okay, Samia, I'm sure you also have experiences to share in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, we've had different clients with different needs. When it comes to exterior works, some have come with all kinds of ideas. You know, we try to influence some of the things that they want to put exteriorly, just so that it doesn't crowd or impede their frontages.
Right.
And you know, they come with all kinds of peculiar ideas. There was one case that eventually their choice didn't quite work out the way and after the fact, then they began to realize that we were right.
We're available. Talk to us if you need some advice. Engage with us. We'll share our experiences with you. You know, and it will save you a whole lot when you're making your decisions.
It will save you a whole lot when you're making your decisions. Here's where we wrap up on today's edition of the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show. We are back next week. Until then, engage with us. Follow us on our social media handles. My name is Ifia Fusua. We are back next week. Bye.